In the past few weeks, like 100 people have asked me to talk about Jack Murphy. So, here we go. Jack Murphy is one of those masculinity gurus that seem to be a dime a dozen on the internet right nowadays. You know the type, these gruff, older, muscled men who might make video content or maybe write a blog or something, instructing young men about the traditional masculine gender role. Murphy's own version of this is a website called the Liminal Order, where for the low price of $100 a month, Jesus, he will teach you how to be a real man. At the end of December 2021, he appeared on Sydney Watson's stream, where a few super chats asked him about the cuck article.
Could you please clear up the cuck article you wrote?
I am not going to talk about this.
Okay.
And basically, you know what? Fuck you for bringing this up right here and right now.
Me?
Why are you doing this to me?
I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was.
Well, just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Elizabeth.
Heartfelt.
Even though Watson genuinely didn't understand what was going on, Murphy still reacted poorly to the reference, even going so far as to march out of their studio saying, "Fuck you."
When the show did end, Jack got up. I made an attempt to apologize or to at least ask what had happened and what had made him react that way. He told me to go fuck myself, or he either said go fuck yourself or he said fuck you again. I can't remember which. And then he left. At that point, Elijah went to go and talk to him to see if the situation might be resolved, and that is when they went to go and get drinks.
Apparently, Watson's editor smoothed things over with him later. Nonetheless, Murphy felt the need to go on Tim Pool's show and throw shade at Watson for other edgy super chats she had received.
Well, people are mad at you for yelling it.
They're like, we can talk about that. Yeah, for sure.
I think they're using, a lot of people don't like the article. A lot of people are using that because they're mad at you, but I think the anger comes from you yelling at Sydney.
Right. So here's what happened with Sydney. So I'm sitting on the show and we're talking and they're joking about reading super chats where people are building like gas chambers and she's reading out loud like, how did I build this gas chamber that didn't kill all the Jews that I was supposed to kill? Right. It's like insane, the super chats that she reads. And so I'm telling her this whole time, I'm like, hey, you might want to read all the super chats before you read them out loud. Right. A little bit of a warning. And then she asked me the question about the article, and I answered it politely. I deflected. I was like, that's not me. It's 180 degrees from whatever that article says. And I'd really rather not talk about it anymore. And then a couple minutes later, she literally asked me the same question all over again. And I cursed at her. I shouldn't have cursed at her. And I apologized, Sydney. I apologized to her that day and that night and the next day. And she accepted my apology. So I don't know why everybody's still butthurt. But I shouldn't have cursed at her. I should have just used amused mastery and just like laughed at her and dismissed her. But I didn't because I had set a boundary and she crossed it. And that's part of being a man too, is saying, here's my boundary, please don't cross it. And then she crossed it. And I told her that I didn't like it. Did I use the right words? No. Should I have cursed at her? No. And did I apologize to her for that? Yes. Did she apologize to me for putting me in a bad spot? Yes. Did Elijah? Yes. Did Elijah and I go out for dinner and drinks afterwards? Yes. Has Sydney and I talked afterwards? Yes. So I don't understand why everybody's so white knighting, simping for her. She can stand up for herself. It's resolved. And in my mind, it's done. And to me, this is such a nothing burger in my life. I am so focused on so many other bigger, more important things that people chipping and chirping away at me at this are just so annoying.
Acting like he thought it was really weird when he, in fact, was in on the joke and enjoying it himself.
Full-on Holocaust denial super chats, and she reads it so innocently. And it's like, and it's always something that's like, it's a horrible, and I'm listening, just laughing. Like she'll be like, how is it then that if like
are we gonna do the ovens and the cookies?
Yeah,
thing now?
no. She'll read something so innocently. She'll be like,
we'll get there.
The cuck article in question has been mysteriously scrubbed off the Wayback Machine. I wonder how that happened. But you know what? It's still easy enough to find if you know where to look. It's titled Cultivating Erotic Energy from a Surprising Source, October 9th, 2015 by Jack Murphy. Today, I sent my adoring, loyal, hot girlfriend of 2 years to have sex with a stranger from Tinder. She is currently at his apartment, checked in with me via text, and is presumably sucking and fucking her way to a good time. I'm alone, writing. Couldn't be happier. Alright, dude. All jokes aside, if you continue to read this article, you can kind of see where he's going with this. I learned over time how my natural disposition is to be dominant. For submissive women, I'm practically an ideal. I've had sex slaves, little girl... little girls and tied them all up. Feminists seek me out to fuck them like the patriarchy. Jesus Christ, dude. Like, yeah, I get it. The whole LG thing is a kink about women who want to basically act like bratty children and then get put in their place by their dominant daddies. But if you're not somebody who's terminally online, this just reads really fucking weird. The edge gets far from center eventually. Excitement and novelty can wear off. Even novelty becomes boring. There are only so many approaches to sex, so many different ways of doing it. Only so many different kinds of people and lovers. For me, and those of us who like to push the edge. Eventually, the only areas left to explore become things you can only do as an evolved couple. You know, to me, this actually sounds like you're a coomer who's become so desensitized to regular sex that you actually need some crazy shit to get off. You know, Jack, no fat would probably do you some good. The entire experience is regimented according to my rules. I introduced her to the idea. I pushed it. I told her to go on Tinder and find someone. On the day in question, I tell her when and where to do it. She checks in with me via text. I know where she is and I'm waiting for her. She's not alone. She is on a mission sent directly by me. And the entire point is for me to get turned on in a way that wouldn't happen otherwise. This passage is the core of the matter, and this is probably the one point he actually has. True enough, by the modern meaning of the word cuck, he's not actually being cucked, because the idea behind cucking is that the bull acts in order to humiliate the man, while Murphy's describing a scenario that he has set up for her to play a role in, regardless of her own will. In other words, a cuck is a guy who consents to having a more dominant man fuck his girl, because he gets off on the feeling of being emasculated and degraded. However, Murphy's situation is the opposite. He's having a less dominant man fuck his girl in order to make her feel degraded and to further establish his own dominance. It's kind of like pimping in a way. Even if a pimp fucks his hoes, nobody would call him a cuck when his hoes fuck Johns. But the problem with Murphy's behavior was probably best described by Sargon on his channel when he talked about this event. It might make Murphy an alpha, but it doesn't make him a man. And I agree. You might be the dominant one, you might be in control. But what do you think it does to the quality, the fabric of your relationship, if you act like a pimp and the girl that you're supposed to cherish acts like a hoe? What makes this whole thing an actual story in the sense of internet drama is that after the Sydney Watson super chat, Jack Murphy repeatedly self-destructed in an attempt to prevent this from going viral. In other words, he went full Streisand effect. The extra attention drawn to the article and Murphy's horrible reaction to it got the attention of the internet super sleuths. I'm not going into too much detail because this is going up on YouTube, but there's a pile of old pictures and videos where both his girl was fucking other men while he watched and where he put a bunch of stuff up his own butt. Now if that's what you're into, good on you. Do whatever you want, I don't care. But every time a new video or a new bit of info from his past dropped, he'd go on another internet meltdown. At the height of it, he was blaming everybody reporting on the event for being part of a revenge porn scandal, which is a charge that does come with legal ramifications in a lot of places, while also filing DMCA claims everywhere he could to get as many YouTube videos and tweets taken down as possible. Murphy turned the Liminal order into his own personal war room in an attempt to mobilize his community against everybody who dared to speak about this. Sydney Watson, Tim Pool, The Quartering, and everybody else. Meanwhile, the internet decided to start up a competing website, the Liminal order. And yes, all these links work. There is a YouTube and a merch store and everything else. I fucking love the internet, dude. Eventually, Jack Murphy dropped a passage where he came clean, admitting that it was all done when he was short on cash, and he was desperate after having lost his job during a prior canceling event. The context of that is that he used to work for a school board in some capacity where, back in 2018, some of his online Manosphere content caught up with him, and he was let go, a topic that he talked about on an older episode of Tim Pool.
There has been this ongoing tactic used, I would say, by both sides, and I don't want to accuse either side of using it more than the other, but we've seen it a bit, where they dig up old posts or they accuse them of being something they're not, and I think a lot of this false accusation stuff of calling people Nazi or white supremacists has come from the left. Today, I'm going to sit here with Jack Murphy, who is targeted by a campaign specifically doing this, calling you a white supremacist?
Nazi and known associated purchaser.
Well, there you go.
Once Lacey McCauley made these accusations of me, then they went digging through old posts that I had actually deleted. Okay, so they went to like the internet archives, as it were, and dug up old stuff that I had written. When I very first started blogging, completely anonymous, no pictures, pen name, everything. My first thing I started writing about was sex and relationships. Right? And one of the things I was writing about were sort of BDSM relationships. Right? So very consensual adult sexual relationships.
In order to make ends meet, he did all of that crazy stuff, and he now regrets it. And you know what? If Jack Murphy had said this at the start of the controversy, he probably would have just slipped by. He would have had a round of teasing, and if he took his lumps without complaint, it would have been over and done with. A true man would know this intuitively. Instead, he complained and fought the people who dared to speak the truth, and so he furthered his own destruction. The smart thing to do, in fact, would be to use his experience to bolster his claims. If he truly wants to be a beacon of masculinity to his audience, he should have said that he went down this destructive road, that he tried the cucking and the porn, and that it ruined him, and he doesn't want the next generation of men coming up to make the same mistake. If his job is to teach these men about masculinity, then this event is how you teach them. Instead, he taught them the opposite. There's a fellow I followed on Twitter for a while now. His name's iHypocrite. I followed him back during Gamergate, and I kept refollowing him out of habit every time I got a new Twitter account. I know absolutely nothing about this guy, only that the content he posts is sometimes funny, that's it. One day, another one of these Jack Murphy-like masculine accounts posted this: "You need to kill the boy. No more video games, no more little Japanese cartoons, no more fantasy football, which is Dungeons & Dragons for jocks, no more large groups of men goofing around in dorms and studio apartments, no more full send and that's Liddy, no more beer pong, no more Drake." The idea being, these interests are impediments to growing up, which is a common enough theme among conservative masculine-centric spheres. And you know what? Fair enough. After the post went viral, iHypocrite replied with, "I love tweets like this because people wouldn't get so extremely pressed if you weren't touching on something." Also, fair enough, good point. Lots of people got angry at the original tweet because they like their video games, maybe a little bit too much, and they probably felt personally attacked. I didn't feel personally attacked, but I do love my video games. But here's where the fun begins. iHypocrite received this reply: "I don't think the people enjoying their hobbies are pressed. This guy seems to be enjoying himself." And he attached a picture of iHypocrite from 2015, where he says, "This is me, I live in BC, I play PS3, dumb diddle D," looking like the quintessential beta soy boy. Now, I thought this was funny, the juxtaposition between this masculine orientation and his past self. So I retweeted it, a grave sin. I didn't say anything, I didn't comment, I just retweeted. And iHypocrite blocked me for that. And then he decided to devote a segment on his stream about me. Jeez.
There's this guy, Short Fat Otaku, who retweeted this. And he follows me, he followed me. I blocked him when I saw him retweet it. Dev, I believe he goes by, Short Fat Otaku, retweeted this, and I always thought this guy was kind of a weasel, so when I saw that, I blocked him.
You know, I had no idea this guy knew who I was. I'm not exactly SFO on Twitter for obvious reasons, and he plays off this entire rant like he doesn't know who I am. Not to say that you should know who I am, but I have a feeling that he does.
Short Fat Otaku, I'll talk about this guy for a sec and then wrap it up. So this is him, I guess. He's the fat guy here wearing the Five Nights at Freddy's t-shirt.
This screenshot is from my gaming channel. It's at least 2 years old, judging by the old couch. Probably older, judging by the relative lack of gray hair in Dave's beard. And it's from Naomi's birthday stream, because she's wearing the birthday hat. This is not a common image of me floating around, at least it wasn't before this event. The most common image of me that can be found online is this one. This is the one that is overwhelmingly used in hit pieces written about me, and videos made about me, if they're not using my channel avatar. In other words, before this all went down, if you didn't know anything about me, and you wanted to talk about me and use a picture, this is the picture that you would stumble upon on Google Images. If you watch my tiny-ass gaming side channel that has none of the clout or reach that SFO does, then maybe you'll find couch pics like this.
Yeah, I wonder why this guy would be a little bit sensitive about somebody pointing out people in their perpetual adolescence.
Who's calling who sensitive? Here, let's see how many people I've got blocked on Twitter. Oh, the list is empty. I wonder why that could be.
I wonder why he would get so triggered over me laughing at somebody else's tweet that he felt the need to launch into personal attacks on my appearance on an 8-year-old photo of me.
What personal attack? Where's the personal attack? I retweeted it because it was funny. It does sound like you're taking this a lot more seriously than I am.
Imagine the cognitive dissonance you have to think that you're going to make fun of somebody because 10 years ago, they were in almost as bad a shape as you're in now. You know what I'm saying? How are you going to make fun of somebody's looks when that's what you look like?
And this is really the core of it, isn't it? You said earlier that I was mad, but you know I'm not mad. You know I'm making fun of you. You just admitted it. That's the real point here. There was stuff that I cut out, like comparing our reach on Twitter, or comments about Lolicon, because they just have no relevance to this conversation. They're just side jabs to, I guess, show that he's totally not angry. But this is the real point. This conversation isn't really about the fact that you were once a soy boy and now you're not. Or at least you claim you're not, that It's the same either way. What truly matters here is your inability to make fun of yourself. Do you think I don't know what I look like or what my deficiencies are? Do you think this picture isn't somehow me playing off of that for the benefit of my audience? Listen, iHypocrite. We're on YouTube. That means we're entertainers. Sometimes that means we have serious discussions about real topics and hopefully provoke some thoughts in our viewers. Sometimes that means we act like clowns and make people laugh. But what it always means is that we perform at the pleasure of an audience, with the expectation that we give them something. Something funny, something interesting, something. And in exchange for that, we get paid. That's the job. Sure, it bothers me that I'm fat. I'm working on it. But if somebody can get joy at laughing at the fat guy, that means that I've earned my keep for another day. And if that also means that I do a goofy voice, or I strike a pose, or I write a script, or I record a video, or I analyze an idea, that is my job. Why are you so angry that people make fun of the you that existed 7 years ago? And why are you so adamant about framing it as anything other than being mad? Are you that insecure? I mean, don't answer. The answer is obviously yes. And it's that insecurity that made me want to talk about this side story in a video about Jack Murphy. All of these people who talk the big masculine talk on the internet, it does seem like when you dig beneath the surface, almost all of them are actually insecure. And yes, I can hear the rightoid objection right now. It's what Academic Agent called the liberal need to pathologize and project, but no, it's actually true. It's even true for him, considering what he used to get up to and his now current hyper-traditionalist stance. Masculinity, insofar as it's socially constructed, is a habit. Sure, there is a biological component to it, but regarding that non-biological component of it, reading about it on the Liminal order or listening to motivational videos can only get you so far. You have to do masculinity. That is the fundamental flaw with the Jack Murphys and the Mike Cernoviches of the world. Even when they might have something of value to offer in their writing, you learn it far better by having habits instilled in you from your own father. Assuming he's around and he's a good parent. And if he's not, though, that doesn't mean you're just doomed to a life of dysfunction. The habits of responsibility, hard work, and grit can be picked up from all sorts of places, not just your parents. And learning how to be a man, while it is passed down from father to son, at least to a point, once the son begins interacting with other men outside of his family, and especially after he leaves the nest, he will be figuring out most of masculinity through a pretty brutal series of trial and error experiments. And if you're a guy listening to this, that's how it will be for you as well. In fact, if you were to learn about masculinity only through reading masculine theory, you would likely come out as an exceptionally dysfunctional human being. I think that's why we see stuff like masculinity gurus want guys to stop being so nice to women. Yes, it's true you can't let girls walk all over you, but there is a space between being a sociopathic asshole and a beta male soy boy cuck. Like, listen to this shit. Only effeminate males enjoy being around babies and puppies. Child comes to me when it's useful and has some baseline human ability for character building and teaching. Dog stays away until it's ready to serve and obey. OMG, it's so cute is absurd to those without a vagina. This is not the mindset of a real man. It's the mindset of a fucking serial killer. A well-rounded masculinity includes a space for being a husband and father, and those roles necessarily require at least a few softer components. And get this, any dude who talks about a great sex life with his wife is a degenerate and a dog. You're supposed to non-romantically love, cherish, and deeply revere your wife and mother of your children. Carnal pleasure is with your mistress, not your wife. This brain-dead take also comes out of that same manosphere. And I realized something when I first read it. This is what I believed a functional adult relationship was when I was like 14 years old. That people who have been together for years develop a more mature, asexual form of love, and that sexual desire was something that was childish and meant to be grown out of. I don't think that way now, but isn't that what all of this masculinity guru shit sounds like? Everything I've talked about today, it sounds like a teenager's idea of what being a man is. The forcing your girl to fuck other men is alpha stuff. The growing up means giving up what you love stuff. The your wife and mother of your children should be pure of your carnal desires stuff. It all sounds like your balls just dropped 5 minutes ago. You've gotten that first hit of testosterone and you think you know the score, but you don't. It's my belief that if you have to tell people you're a real man, then you're not. If you have to tell people that you're an alpha, you're not. If you have to tell people that you're a high status male or high value or whatever else, you're just not. I've also heard that people should be able to tell just by looking at you. And sure, I can see how that's true in some situations. But the thread that binds everything in this video together is insecurity. All of these people are insecure about their pasts, or how others perceive that past. They're insecure about their own masculinity. So they present the most shallow public face of that masculinity, rendering it teenage and impotent. One big quality of masculinity that everyone in this video has missed is security. Security is what your family, friends, and community need from you, and it's what you can offer them. Both security in yourself, such that you can be trusted to be steady, and security for others, such that you can assist and defend when times get tough. Part of that security is rejecting all of this nonsense and performing the day-to-day habits of building your masculinity. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a real man or that I have all the answers. I don't. I'm certainly no alpha. But I'm secure in my relationship with Naomi and with my friends. I'm secure in what I'm doing with my life. And yes, I'm secure in the things that I enjoy in my downtime. And the stuff that I'm not all that secure with, like my weight, for example, I'm working on. Maybe I'll succeed, maybe I won't, and I'll die of a fat-induced heart attack. But I'm not giving up, and that's enough for me. Alright, my friends, that is the end of the video. I know I waited probably a bit too long to talk about Jack Murphy, but I just don't like talking about breaking news in that way, you know? I'm not an ambulance chaser. I wanted to wait until I understood what was underneath the surface of the story, and I think I did. As always, I'm streaming on the gaming channel tonight. Come drop in. I'll see you there. Have a good one, guys. I love you.